programming with the families, but we also work with the entire community because it does take a village to raise a child. And in these times, everybody's somebody's child and we all need a helping hand. So we also do some work with the homeless because many of our families are either homeless or marginally homeless. So we're helping out everybody. Enjoy.
Thank you, Debbie. Colleen?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Colleen Kjellman, and I'm from Brass Bell Family Resource Center, and we're a CAPC CPNP project. We are located east of Thunder Bay, and we serve 7 small communities across the north shore of Lake Superior in a really beautiful and somewhat isolated area. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, welcome everybody who's joined us. We are delighted to take the next few minutes to walk you all through the experience of our last year together. We are going to be going over some of the activities and the highlights of our network for the past year. And let's get to it. I guess here we go. So moving on, I do believe, let's get on to the next slide. Colleen, you're going to lead us off here.
Okay. 2019-20 was year 3 in a 3-year work plan cycle. And in this final year of the work plan, we maintained our course for moving forward in many of our priority areas, which included knowledge exchange through webinars and other online learning activities, supporting community of practice and the zone gatherings, and the weekly newsletter, which really continued to evolve and expand throughout the year. Momentum in disseminating information to support the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. And this happened through regular, focused, and very thoughtful discussions at our monthly coordinating committee meetings, and also was highlighted through the weekly newsletter, sharing information with all the network members. And we also continue to look for ways to increase dissemination of information to our Francophone projects.
Next slide. Yep.
Next slide, please.
Okay.
Priority areas which were determined in the first year of our 3-year work plan included infant mental health and mother's mental health promotion, father engagement, domestic violence, FASD, social determinants of health, population health, and best practices. Next slide, please. So we'll look at some highlights. Highlights from this past year included the Indigenous Outreach Project, and this focused on connecting with staff members of Indigenous CAPC and CPNP projects with a goal of a better understanding of how the network could be supportive and inclusive to Indigenous projects and Indigenous staff, and also help inform our goals for increased inclusion in our upcoming 4-year work plan. We also saw growth in network informational resources, including an animated promotional video, and we plan to show that for you later on in the presentation. This past year also saw a significant expansion of online offerings in addition to the popular webinar series, which included innovative online events such as a webinar viewing party, live Facebook chat with Dr. Jean Clinton, and a half-day online conference hosted by the network. Next slide, please. So looking a little deeper at these online events, which happened in March, which could not have been more timely, as so many of us were working at in a work from home scenario and really looking for these learning opportunities for our staff. March 19th saw 50 participants view an archived webinar with Dr. Jean Clinton on adverse childhood experiences And this event also had an interactive element to it with online polling and prizes. The following week, on March 24th, Dr. Jean Clinton had her fan base follow her to the network Facebook page. And an unanticipated outcome of that is also brought a lot of people to gain an awareness about the network and CAPC CPNP to our members and non-members. There was an incredible turnout for this event, as you can see by the number there, 1,700 people participated. And thinking about Dr. Jean and the message that she gives to us, she really has a way of connecting, and she did an incredible job of relating her talk that day to what was happening with COVID. And she talked about the need for adults to lend children their calm and the importance of play and children being outdoors. There were many, many key messages to take away that day. And on March 27th, the first ever network online conference happened, and it was incredible, went off without a technical hitch. And when we think about this conference, the idea was born way back in the fall. And at that time, as a network, we talked about a goal, a big goal of 50 participants. And of course, the time may have had something to do with this, but well over 260 registered and 219 attended that day. The presentations were incredibly relevant, sharing valuable information. And just an overall highlight as well from the last year is just the development of these innovative platforms that continue to keep the network current and fresh. And Cindy's going to talk a little bit more about the conference.
Yes, we did want to brag just a little bit more about the conference because we were, I think, all really happy with how it went. I know I was just super delighted. Colleen mentioned those numbers and how, you know, our hopes for participation were just more than answered. And I think it was a wonderful way to branch out our online offerings. And we've been trying to think of ways to expand on already, as Colleen mentioned, really great webinar series. And just looking to see if we could expand on that a little bit. And so I just wanted to share a few of the comments that were offered up by network members who attended in the evaluation forums. I think they paint a really good picture. Not only we had such a great response to the evaluation. I think almost 90 people shared their thoughts in our evaluation forum, which is also you know, pretty amazing. So one comment about how, you know, the 3 hours, she thought it was going to seem like a long time, but it flew. They appreciated the format, which was really great. And the accessibility was highlighted in the evaluation. So I think we learned some good lessons about, you know, strengths to build on in terms of how to format such an event. As Colleen mentioned, the topics were really well received. You can see here on the graphic that we had 3 sessions. The first one was about working with families with gender diverse children, which was really informative. The second session was around FASD and the role we can play in CAPC and CPNP and prevention. And the third session was a discussion panel on trauma-informed practice, where we had, oh goodness, was it 4 or 5? I'm having a bit of a brain moment, but it was 4 or 5 network members who came together and shared their experience in working from a trauma-informed lens with other network members. So again, we just wanted to celebrate. We thought it was a really a great event, and we're hoping to build on that in planning more in the future. So with that, we are going to move over to Debbie. Are you going to talk to us a little bit about the the coordinating committee.
Yes, I joined 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I joined the coordinating committee, but I had been hearing about it for several years by a previous coordinating committee member. Some of you might know Chantal. And I've learned coordinating committee does a lot more things than what I thought they did.
Mm.
And I've learned a lot of things about programming, about sharing information that is available to all the projects, Indigenous and non-Indigenous programs. And the Indigenous projects we are trying to expand out there, as well as the have materials in French and English, and we are a little bit in Indigenous because there are so many dialects and different Indigenous languages. We're here to support knowledge exchange and sharing. You go on to Web Connects, and there's an enormous amount of information that is missed on Web Connects, and we're trying to get that information out to all the members and all the projects for CAPC and CPNP, and they can share with other people because the Web Connects is available to everyone about the information that's there. Plus, it also tells you what trainings are coming up in your area or in Ontario or sometimes across the country. So highly recommend joining a coordinating committee if you get the opportunity. Next, click.
Okay, here we go.
We had different zones, which are really good because Ontario is a vast area with many different types of situations that come up in our areas. Several people, you would think it's Ontario, everybody's going to have the same situations. Well, it's not. Like, even in each different zone, even in the 5 zones, each zone from one side to the other is going to have different situations. Like someone in Toronto, they run into different events, and I try to say situations instead of problems because situations are easier to solve. You don't look at them so negative. That's why you'll hear me say situations so often. But what situation you would hit in Toronto, you're not going to hit up here. Like, for example, I was at a training in Toronto and someone said that an incentive was a gas card. Well, for my clients, that doesn't work because 99% of my clients don't drive. So you have to go with the flow. The Northeast zone, that is one of the newest zones, is the people are me and Rachel Peltier, and we also have a vacancy. So like I said, put the word out there for anybody living in this zone and put your name in. You'll be glad that you did.
All right, next one.
Yeah. Now we go to Colleen's homeland here. Northwest zone is Colleen. Colleen, as I am, we are both committee members and we are both committee co-chairs. I am just an Indigenous one. They have Yvette and Rhonda Turbine, and she is the Indigenous Project Committee member. They have the Central with Christina and Ruth Ann, and as you can see, there is an Indigenous Project Committee member vacancy. Come on, girls and boys, get out there and come join the party. East Zone, Diane, Kim, Nicola. Do you see a trend here, people? A lot of it is ladies on the committee. Ladies are good, and traditionally social workers and helpers have been women. We are also putting out a call to the males who are working in our projects. Men give a different perspective to women, and we welcome their input, as well as all the knowledge that the ladies have, like, hey, we're ladies. But the men have a lot of knowledge that they do share. The men who are on the committee, they share a lot of knowledge. and we'll look forward to hearing more from men. Next slide. The Southwest, Diane, and a man, Frank and Nettie. Everybody's still there, especially in this COVID, trying to adjust.
Oh, sorry, Debbie.
That's okay. Trying to adjust, figuring things out by the seat of our pants to best serve our clients and staff, for that matter. Non-voting members we have is Debbie, Dan, who's the guru of the Web Connects, and of course the lovely Blanca.
Oh my goodness, I'm so apologetic because I didn't get Blanca's photo in there. So sorry, Blanca. I missed my my task there.
That's okay. No worries, everything's good. We're all cool. Yes,
And if I may add, Debbie, Debbie Engel is from the sponsoring agency of Horizon Family and Community Services that administers the network. And as you said, Dan is the sponsoring, Our Children, Our Future, the sponsoring agency for Web Connects. So, yeah. Are you, shall I move on to the next one?
I am going to, that's me too. The zones gather, our zone gathers once a month, but it depends on the availability and what each zone sets up for themselves. Some may meet once a month, some might meet every 2 months. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking somebody meets once a quarter or something. To figure out what's going on and what they're going to do in their zone, because we can't always get together because of the vast areas that we need to cover to get face to face. Sydney, you would think Sydney attends if not most of a lot of the meetings, which is a great asset because of her, not only because of her knowledge, but her great Zoom skills, because we get confused sometimes. And the work in these zones is, the chairs support them, and the meetings from our coordinating committee meeting, the person goes back to their zone meeting and reports the updates that we get at the meeting from PHAC and so it keeps the communication open so the workers don't feel like we're out there floundering on our own trying to figure things out, and we're getting information from the top, which we need. Communication from the top down is always good. Next. There are zones. Each zone has a chair. We have Rachel in the Northeast. Rachel is new to the program, but she does an awesome job. Northwest is Yvette and Chantel. Chantel was the one who recruited me, and then I recruited Rachel. Central zone is Yvette. East zone is Dawn and Maureen. It's a dogfight going on somewhere. And the Southwest zone is Ellen and Selena. They are doing awesome work. Where did the dog go? Next.
Well, I think we're passing it off to me, Debbie, but I want to thank you for that. And you're right, it's so, both the coordinating committee members and the zone chairs, they play that important role of sharing information back and forth. So it's just really, really, really valuable in terms of between the, the network members and the coordinating committee, and then our funder. So what we wanted to do now was just take a few more minutes to kind of do a little bit deeper dive into those priorities and goals that Colleen mentioned earlier, and reflect a little more specifically on this past year. And the first of our goals that we had set up in our 3-year work plan was to deepen our community of practice model. So hopefully people are aware of our community of practice groups that we have. And you can see here on the slide that we have 6 different groups that are focused on particular topic areas. The first one is FASD. We also have a community of practice working with low German speaking families, marketing and promotion, infant mental health, maternal mental health, and domestic violence. And these groups tend to meet about once a month or maybe every couple of months and bring together network members who have a particular interest in that topic area. And you know, generally just the act of getting together and meeting one another and sharing updates and resources is really powerful and beneficial to those who join in. And sometimes these groups take on specific projects together as well, reviewing resources, just all kinds of different ways to support learning and growth. Let's see what else if I wanted to mention about these. I think as we move into our new 4-year work plan, we'll be checking in with our network members to see if these topic areas are still relevant and you know, if perhaps there are other directions that they want to move in. But we have seen continued strong connections through these groups, and we continue to work at raising awareness about what a community of practice is, because there's still education, I think, to do about that, and you know, what value they provide. The next the next goal was to distribute key network information in both English and French. And we do make an effort to ensure that our, you know, our network information is available in both languages. And you can see here an example of an infographic that we created outlining the 4 priorities for our 4-year work plan. So we will continue to do that and to develop resources in both English and French. And distribute that to the network. The next priority is establishing partnerships to improve knowledge translation to network members. And we're offering you here some examples of initiatives over the past year that we have engaged in to help us achieve this goal. The first was a partnership that our infant mental health community of practice engaged with infant mental health promotion. And this was actually quite a large scale project that spanned 2 years in our work plan. And it was an opportunity for network members to share information about their level of infant mental health knowledge and provide us with information on what are ways that we can support increasing that knowledge. So it was a really great partnership. We also continue to have a standing partnership with Dad Central with participation on their steering committee and engagement with them in sharing information through our network webinars. We've had also, you know, representatives from Dad Central have joined in on community of practice and zone meetings, so that has been really great. Another example of one of our partnerships in the past year has been a partnership with Building Connections, Mothercraft, in the delivery of a webinar on brain development, which was very popular and very well received by the network members. And finally, another example of a popular webinar this past year was one provided by the FSAD1 network on the role that CAPC and CPNP workers can play in FASD prevention. So that's just an example of just a few of the partnerships that have resulted in knowledge exchange and transfer for our network members. And our next one is to initiate dialogue in support of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action. And you heard Colleen referring to, you know, some of our focus around that earlier. And we do feel we've seen some momentum gaining in disseminating information about the calls to action. One through our Indigenous Outreach Project, which is that Colleen had mentioned. And this is going to be an ongoing project because we just find it so valuable that we are going to continue that into our next work plan. Also, we've had a real commitment in our coordinating committee meetings to have Truth and Reconciliation on the agenda as a recurring item for committee members to dive into and to discuss and to think together about ways that we can support those conversations throughout the province and all of the zones. And yeah, I think it's this topic of truth and reconciliation has actually become one of our 4 pillar priorities for our next 4-year work plan. So really just continuing our commitment there. And we continued to look for different ways to initiate information exchange and strategies. And again, just in summary, a variety of options, including our communities of practice, our webinars, and our WebConnects online community forum. Our network newsletter is also a really well-received tool for gaining information. It goes out weekly to our network members. So we really do feel we have quite a good multi-pronged approach to sharing and disseminating information to network members. So now I'm just going to spend just a couple of minutes sharing some of the highlights of the data, some of the numbers, to hopefully help give you an idea of, you know, the kind and ways of impact that our activities have had. So what we can tell you is our newsletter currently has 307 subscribers. And over the last fiscal year, there were 68 campaigns that were sent out, or 68 newsletters that were sent out. In addition to the regular weekly Friday newsletter, we sometimes send out special announcements or, you know, invite registration to a webinar, things like that. For WebConnects, here's the numbers for the last year. We have 636 people access the site during the year, which is a total of 1,936 sessions. And just a little tidbit in that the average session sees people just logging onto the site for just under 6 minutes. For our network webinar series, we archived 17 videos that network members can access at any time. We hosted 13 live webinar events. And over the year, we had a total of 302 participants in our webinars. And as a point of interest, I looked at our webinar registrations for the last year, and the ones that had sort of the top uptake from our network members were a webinar on infant brain development, medicine wheel program planning, and the importance of discussing alcohol and birth control in supporting FASD prevention. And finally, we have our network promotional video that I was very excited to work on. And we thought if we had time that we would share it with everybody. And I think it's just under 3 minutes long, so I think that's probably a good idea to do. But I will need to just do a little technical thing here and stop sharing for a moment and pull up the video. Okay, and then share again. So pardon me as I get this set up here. Okay. And Colleen and Debbie, I'll be looking to you to let me know that you can see the video and that you can hear it once I get it going.
I can see it.
Okay, and all right, I'm going to press play. Fingers crossed.
I can hear it.
This is Jess. She works for a CAPC project in Northern Ontario. Jess enjoys her job. She loves connecting with and supporting families. And it certainly keeps her busy. Recently, Jess learned that all CPNP and CAPC project staff like her in Ontario were part of a province-wide network. The network offers CAPC and CPNP staff access to a variety of resources and support. Network webinars, zone meetings, communities of practice, weekly newsletter, and web connects. The network webinars are free for network members and provide information on emerging trends and best practices. Our communities of practice are a place to come together to network, learn, and share. Connect with colleagues around Ontario who also want to chat about topic areas like working with low German speaking families, maternal mental health, infant mental health, marketing and promotion, FASD, and domestic violence. We also have zone meetings where you can network with other CAPC and CPNP project staff from your area of Ontario, discuss current needs and interests, and get updates from people. Do you know which zone area you are in? Just decided the best way to find out about all the great things that were happening in the network was to get connected, and she signed up for the network newsletter and joined Web Connects, our online community. If you'd like to get connected, send us an email. Thanks for watching.
Okay, that is that. Yes, it's hard for the perfectionist in me wants to make some changes and redo the sound.
Oh,
But
that's with me.
we're glad to share that with you. And that pretty much brings our overview of this last year to a close. And we would